I'm making a few assumptions here, but if you're here, you want to know how to fix this damn planet. I know your heart aches when you see wars and refugees, but what do you do when that guilt makes you actually want to help these people? Do you go out and give that beggar the change that you had in your pocket? Or do you donate to local charities which constantly bombard you with advertisements, especially near the holiday season? Do you feel better knowing the fact that you did go outside and you did decide to donate? But what if I told you that whatever you did was not only useless, but also really selfish? Now that is something to talk about. Now you might be wondering why I called your selfless acts of charity as selfish and also useless. Well, it's nothing personal. It's just a matter of perspective. You see, what makes one thing selfish and useless from something which is selfless is just perspective and nothing else. And before you get angry with me for calling you selfish for the wrong reasons, I want you to calm down and ask the question, a really important question, which I will ask you after I set up this box, because that fits the narrative. How far does our money go? Let's just see, fit the narrative. See, when you're donating money, I hope your intent is to accomplish something good in the society. So if a charity comes to you and says, okay, we want to educate poor children, would you like to donate? You say, okay, I will donate. Well, let's say that your charity money goes to the right charity and the child is being educated and the charity did what it was supposed to do. Everything's going according to plan. And you can see the child is being educated. It's not a sham. It's not a scam. It's working. But why am I still calling your act of kindness, an effective act of kindness, selfish and useless? Well, in order to understand that, you need to look at an example. Let's say you see a local charity which helps the blind people get guide dogs. And if you donate $100, you'll contribute to the $42,000 it takes to train a dog for that person. But obviously, the Guide Dogs of America isn't the only charity in town. There are other charities which also focus on blindness, such as the Helen Keller Foundation. And let's see how different these two charities are when we donate our money this time to the HKS and see how many people they can save for $100. So if we take those $100 and we put them into the first charity, we've played a 0.24% part in helping that blind person get a dog, a less than a quarter of a percent. What if you donated those $100 into the Helen Keller Foundation, which helps cure blind people in Africa from trachoma? You'd be able to cure 4 people of blindness with a simple $25 surgery. And if you took those 420 people who donated their $100 to the first charity and directed their funds to this charity, we'd be able to cure a staggering 1,680 people of blindness. So I'm sure you've understood from these two examples that our money could become completely useless if we donate to the wrong charity. But before we decide which causes we should donate to and which causes are important, we need to first ask the question of what is fundamental to life. In my humble opinion, when we're talking about helping people, the most important thing that I think we should care about, first of all, before anything else, before education, before anything else, is healthcare. Because if you're trying to help a lot of people, the most fundamental thing is that these people are alive. If they're not alive, all of your help is useless. But while we have decided, okay, healthcare seems like a great deal, I think we should focus more on healthcare. But the question still remains, where does our money go? Who has the right to my money? And where should I donate when I'm thinking about it? Okay, I care about healthcare, but on which part of the world should I donate to? Who deserves my money? And so, to understand that, let's run a small thought experiment. Consider this thought experiment. You are standing on one side of the street where you see a person dying of thirst, but you only have $1 in your pocket. And a bottle of water costs $1 here. But on the other side of the street, you see 10 people dying of thirst. But water there only costs 10 cents. If you had to pick between the two, where would you spend that money? And so picking charities just because they're local is just like picking that $1 bottle of water and staying on just this side of the street and just helping that one person. When you know the fact that if you just cross the road to the other side of the street, you could help just 10 people with the same amount of money. And so that speaks to a larger theme of when we don't consider distance to be a factor when we're deciding if we want to help those people or not, when we don't consider the fact that these people don't look like us to be a factor of judgment when we're deciding if we want to help these people or not, we would take the cost effectiveness of any intervention more seriously. But okay, you might be wondering, what does saving people mean? And so that is why we need to set a standard of saving people in healthcare. And that saving people standard is called a DALY. So let's look into what a DALY is. A DALY is known as Disability Adjusted Life Years. Imagine someone who has a life expectancy of 65. But now that they have HIV/AIDS, they'd be only able to live up to the age of 55. So HIV/AIDS has a DALY of 10 because it takes 10 years off of your life. So if we're now looking at interventions and we have the concept of a DALY established, it makes sense to focus on interventions which can give the most amount of life years back to the people for the least amount of money. So let's assume we have $1,000. Let's see how many DALYs we can get for our money. On the y-axis, we have 5 interventions which focus on HIV/AIDS. On the x-axis, we have the amount of DALYs. The interventions with more DALYs mean we're giving more life years back to the people. This is just an example of the effects of our interventions on the same illness. And as you've seen, some interventions are really effective, some are not as effective. But when we look at the effects of our interventions across different illnesses, that is when truly the results are mind-blowing. For starters, let's look at this graph, which shows us the amount of death caused by different reasons. And for fun, let's add wars in the 20th century into the mix. The yellow lines show us the amount of deaths caused per year before our interventions. And as you can see, the simple things like malaria and diarrhea are killing a lot of people per year. Now let's look at the graph after the intervention. When you compare the two lines, the results are clear. These simple interventions are more effective at saving lives than everlasting peace in the 20th century. These interventions are so effective that if we were to end every war in the 20th century, we would still be saving less people than these interventions. That is how effective they are. But if you go into the specifics, it really becomes incredible of how cheap it has been to save so many people. In the case of smallpox, more than 100 million lives have been saved so far, and it came down to just $4 per person. In other words, it cost us less than a cup of Starbucks a person to end smallpox on this planet. And all of this was possible just because some people were willing to look across the street and disregard distance. Our charitable donations to the causes and the things that we care about, to the political campaign that we care about, to funding our local schools or whatever, is still completely okay. I just wanted to give you a perspective that your money could be going to somewhere where actual people are going to be helped, where a lot of people are going to be helped. And I just wanted to show you that perspective. That is all. I didn't want to ruin charity for you. Mindscreen was made with just one purpose: to expand your perspective. To expand your perspective so you can love more. I hope this message resonates with you. And if it does, I'll see you for the long haul. Thanks so much.